Bros USA. Yeah.
This is Car Bros Podcast, episode 12.
Baker's dozen.
Damn,
Almost a
dozen.
teenager, but not.
This is incredible. I just have to say, 12. I remember when we just started this thing
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you to all of our fans.
And the page.
Yeah, and our patrons specifically. The fact that we can do this and people listen to it and enjoy it is surreal.
Yep.
Really.
Like imagining someone just listening to this crap, like driving to work or
Really,
something.
yeah. Like all of you out there listening to this, doing whatever, letting us be part of your day.
Doing God's work.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So glad to have you here.
Yep. Welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about, lately there's a lot of talk about the manual, like any blog, magazine, whatever. It's like manual transmission. Like we need them.
Yeah.
Save
Better
the
put one in a
manuals.
Supra.
Right. It's just like, yeah, everything is manual. Like almost too much, I would say.
What hype?
Just like romanticized too
yeah.
much. But it was like, and then what BMW like purposely only puts manuals in like just for the US on certain like
Oh yeah,
they
I'm
don't
not
wa-
sure, but I think so.
like they don't really want to.
They probably lose money on it.
Right, but they do like because people want it, they're going to talk about it. So like I guess we'll do it even though it's not as good.
Because they know people are going to talk a bunch of shit.
Right.
And then not buy
Yeah.
manuals.
But with that said, like I was thinking about there's like still quite a few cars, like really high performance cars that are only available with a manual.
It's more common than not
Yeah.
for a car that you hope would have a manual does have a manual.
Yeah.
Like, there's only a few cars I can think of that I wish did and
Right.
don't.
Dodge Charger. That's to me that's
Oh
the biggest
yeah,
one.
Charger should.
Yeah. That's the reason I bought a Challenger is because it came with a stick.
Yeah.
I mean, a Charger would have been better. I mean, more practical.
For you, yeah. Big back seat and
Right.
stuff.
Right. But if that thing had we've talked about like, why don't they do that?
Yeah, why don't they have a manual Charger?
Especially because they seem like very committed to like keeping it fresh. Like,
Yeah.
not just,
And it's like, if anyone would, Dodge would.
right. Yeah. Like they're
it's
the
weird.
company that would.
It's weird they don't. I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure
like,
they've thought of
The
it.
parts exist. Like it's not, it wouldn't be hard.
That'd be a cool car.
I mean, I
I don't know,
guess
they probably wouldn't sell a ton of them, but
like people would talk about it though.
a
Like, it would-
Scat Pack, 6-speed, like Charger.
Yeah, they would just how people talked about the SS, like the last manual V8.
Yeah, totally.
Sedan.
Yeah, Jalopnik would poop themselves over.
Yeah. So if anyone to Dodge is listening,
M5 killer.
if you make that, I will.
Yeah.
I will buy one.
M5, I'm fine with not having a manual
Yeah,
anymore.
that's always been
That
like a
new-
super high tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that new one is just so good without it.
And kind of like the GTR. Like no one cares. Like no one's. How come the R35 doesn't have a manual?
Yeah.
I think that car would have been cool with a manual, but it totally makes sense without one.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
that's fine. One thing that I wish did have one was the ISF, the Lexus
Oh, yeah.
ISF.
Or any of their V8.
Any of their V8s, yeah, even the new ones. But really something about the ISF, like that would have been a killer
Oh, yeah.
car. They're already cool.
Right.
They're still cool. I like those a lot. But like with a stick, that would have just been
Right.
super cool.
Yeah, like I came up with a small list. Like all these cars are performance cars that only like you cannot even get an automatic even if you wanted one.
Oh.
So the Civic Type R obviously is only
Oh yeah.
a stick.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much any performance Honda ever.
Yeah.
has only
like
been
the
a stick.
S2000. Yeah.
Yeah, S2000. No, they made automatic NSX. So.
Yeah, they did. They suck.
Yeah.
It's like not a good.
Remember-
but that car is kind of like
Remember when we used to like make those jokes about the automatic NSX? It was like only for the guy that like was working at the grocery store and then like hurt his legs. And then like got money from the lawsuit, but like still wanted an NSX like really bad, but couldn't drive a stick anymore.
Insurance payout money.
no. That was a joke we made. Like, why does it exist?
Very
It's just
specific.
like automatic, like an NSX with like, why would you?
Because it was supposed to be kind of that was more of a GT kind of. everyday supercar-esque. I know. Well, that auto.
Yeah.
Like early 90s auto.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. So the Type R and the SI both only come with a stick.
Oh, really? You can't get an SI with an auto?
Nope.
Oh, that's cool.
Dope. And then any of the Camaro 1LEs
Damn.
are all manual, especially the ZL1 1LE.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a car
it's
that's okay, that needs an auto, guys.
Yeah,
like you're killing people.
Right. Yeah.
You have to take your hands off the wheel.
And in
to
a
drive.
way, I think I would almost rather have an auto in a car that,
Yeah.
like, if you're like taking it to the track.
Totally. That thing should have had an auto.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting. I don't know if it's because I don't know why, but
Yeah, I don't know.
there's that. And then GT350 and 350R are both stick
Yeah.
only. The Focus ST, Fiesta ST, and the RS
Yeah.
are all stick only.
Yeah.
Which no one really talks about. Like they'll talk about the death of the manual, but there's a lot of like
STI is still manual only. Yeah.
only,
like they could have sold more of those.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you could have got an RS with a dual clutch.
Was it
or-
Viper only stick? I don't think you get
Yeah.
those with
Yeah.
auto
Yeah.
too. Yeah, that's interesting. There are still some cars where it's like only stick.
Right.
Like, nope, you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would have to imagine, like, it almost seems like almost a bad if they're like only 3% of people buy manuals, like, then why would you come out with a car that's only?
Yeah, there are still cars that
like,
only have.
aren't you like taking a big?
Yeah.
Aren't you eliminating a lot of buyers in that?
Yeah, so I think we've just disproven
Yeah.
Yeah.
that myth.
Sorry, folks.
If you're into cars and you can't drive stick, like you're just missing out.
Unless you're handicapped,
Unless
as
you're
I just
handicapped.
mentioned.
Yeah, unless there's some reason you can't. But like, it's such. I mean, I wonder if there's anyone in our audience that can't. Probably not.
Like just like cannot do it, or
It's probably preaching to the choir who've just like never, I've just like never learned, or it's like go learn.
yeah,
It's such like if you're into cars, it's a whole nother world.
yeah, opens a
Of the hobby is driving stick. It's like half the hobby.
right, yeah,
is driving stick.
and talking about it.
like
Just
yeah,
real quick, like what car did you learn stick on? Should we just mention these?
on the Z.
That was your first?
Yeah, and I was like, my dad just bought it.
Yeah.
Like I remember we found the Z is on the side of the road.
Right,
yeah.
87 300ZX turbo, first car. And it was like, there's this car. And he like went out and bought it, like negotiated and bought it. I think I just told him about it, but I wasn't there. And it just like
Appeared. Showed up.
It was just
Appeared
there
in your
one day. It was just
driveway,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty cool move. I mean, it wasn't that expensive of a car, but it was like
Yeah. Still a cool car for a 16-year-old.
any car.
yeah,
appearing
yeah, but that's
is
like-
cool.
yeah.
But yeah,
80s
for
sports
16,
car, yeah.
80s sports car.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think he was just. I just remember he was like, "Yeah, go learn."
Yeah.
It was like you didn't even. I didn't think he gave me any.
Just like threw you into the water and you didn't know how to
well,
swim.
it wasn't. It wasn't like you're gonna learn. It's
Yeah.
just like
Here's your car.
if you want to go drive it.
Yeah,
go
you,
learn.
you'll
have to
figure it
learn,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I just went forward and backwards in the driveway for like a half hour.
Yeah.
Because we have like a 30-foot driveway, and it's just like
Yeah.
forward, back, forward, back,
Yeah.
forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back for a
Got
half
it.
hour, and then it's like forward and out of the driveway. It's like now I'm on the road. Yeah, those first when you're first learning, it's like it is a fucking adventure.
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah, you feel like you're driving like 100 miles an hour when you're going like
Whatever
40.
you're
just
doing,
banging
it is
the
an
gears. Yeah.
adventure.
remember
moving a
Matt's
car.
dad's Civic.
That's
Yeah.
right. We had a friend, Matt Trey, first and last name. Yeah. His dad had what, like a 95
It was a DX,
or something?
right?
Yeah.
4 is like early 90s sedan Civic.
Yeah,
DX.
DX, so like bass, as bass as they come.
5-speed.
With a 5-speed. And like multiple of us learned to drive on that car.
or at least practice.
Or at least practice. Because, yeah, why was I... maybe that was before.
It probably was.
You know what? That might have been before. So the Z is when I like learned it.
Yeah.
But I think it was like the first time I'd ever done it is with
Matt.
4 or 5 people.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's like a Civic with like 1,000 extra pounds of guy
Yeah.
in it. And
Talking shit.
talking shit at each other and just like making fun of each other's inability to drive. Because I remember It must have been before the Z, because I remember trying to reverse up an incline. Like I tried to make a U-turn, and so the street was kind of sloped, so I had to reverse up an incline. And I remember killing it 9 times in a row, right? Wasn't it triple hat trick?
Yeah.
Killing it 9 times in a row.
Just couldn't get it.
Because it's a tough move. Like reversing up an incline without rolling forward.
Speaking of that, I killed the Challenger like right before I pulled up here, doing that exact same
yeah.
thing.
It's like a humbling moment. Because every once in a while you
still
kill it.
Yeah.
Like, once a
Like
year.
I had to make a U-turn to park in front of the house.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty wide car, so I had to like 3-point it, and like it was nose down. I was like, oh man,
Rookie ass move.
hope no one saw that.
Checking.
Yeah, Matt Civic. Man, we drove the shit out of it. Not only did we learn how to drive stick, we learned how to power shift.
Yeah, that car went through the ringer.
That car went through the ringer. And like you wouldn't know.
Yeah, it still ran fine.
Yeah. Civic, man.
I think his sister got it, and like she had it all the way through
probably
college.
drove
Even
it for
still.
like 100,000 miles. It's like, how did they make a car that reliable?
Yeah.
How were Honda's so good? We just beat the shit out of that thing.
Well, I learned stick because I got a summer job working at like a privately owned pharmacy.
That's right, that truck.
Yeah, and so you'd work for like an hour in the pharmacy, like sweeping the floors or something like that, and then the pharmacist would just give you this big bag of drugs to deliver to like elderly people or just people who couldn't.
Times.
Yeah,
Here you go, son.
yeah. And so they gave you a work truck. It was like I don't even know, like a 90s yellow Mighty Max.
Was it a
Mitsubishi Mighty Max
Mitsubishi
truck?
Mighty Max.
Yeah,
That was a fine
I hope they bring that back.
had like a full roll bar, like cage and everything like that.
Mighty
And,
Max
it was
is a
stick, yeah.
damn good truck.
And so I never learned. And so like
Mighty Max.
the guy I was replacing, because he was like going on like a summer church trip or something, he picked me up the day before I started, and like he came to my house in the truck, and he's like, "All right, let's teach you how to drive stick.
Better learn
yeah,
the
you're
truck.
going to start work tomorrow."
Learn the Mighty Max.
And so he just gave me like a 20-minute lesson, and like I kind of got it, killed it a bunch and stuff like that. And then I remember like we're driving around my neighborhood, and there was like a driveway with like a very steep incline, like probably like a 20% incline. So he just like pulls up here, pulls the e-brake,
Daunting.
parks it, and he's like, "All right, so if you can get it up here and not stall it, I'll give you $200 right now." And so I was like, "Oh shit!" And of course, I fucking killed it. Like he even gave me like 5 tries, and I killed it every time. And I'm like,
That's
"Oh,
a bold move.
yeah." I was like, "All right, whatever."
Bold
But yeah. And so then the very next day, I just started. So I just drove like all summer, just drove that truck, Monday through Friday.
That was probably a blast.
I remember
Those things are so
seeing.
fun to
I the first time I saw Fast and Furious, because that was the summer it came out.
Yeah.
Like I saw it and then like immediately had to go to work,
I'm going to go drive the truck.
and I was just like banging those gears. Yeah. I was driving it hard.
That truck did not appreciate Fast and the Furious coming. Any car.
Most cars didn't.
No.
Most cars with a stick shift. The clutch sales.
Remember when we saw that guy
a sharp-
revving his Accord after?
Yeah.
As soon as we saw Fast and the Furious, it was in some like podunk theater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the original, the very
first one.
We
went
were
and
like
saw it,
16.
and we were like, "Oh, cool!"
Everyone who saw it in the theater just started doing like burnouts and like
it's
an
kind of like
average car. Like
remember when that Mortal Kombat movie came out?
and then like you like start
Right
horse
afterwards,
playing.
yeah, kids are like jump kicking each other and stuff. You're like trying to like bicycle kick in the lobby. It's like, there's just this like
body slamming your brother.
just like, as soon as the movie comes out, kids are like throwing each other through the popcorn machine and shit. Like it's just like nuts. There's just this energy. It was
Yeah.
like that with Fast and the Furious. As soon as the movie let out, people were in the parking lot like,
Remember we saw that guy like he came out and it was like a 90 Accord
yeah,
or
it's like
something.
we're walking out to the car.
He like reached in, started it,
Reached in, starts
and then
it.
like before he even got in the car, he like put his foot in like onto the pedal and just like boom, just like
he
fucking
just starts
Yeah.
revving his
to the rev
Accord
limiter.
Cold
to the
start.
rev
Before he even was in the car.
limiter. For no reason. It's like the equivalent of fighting after Mortal Kombat. I
Yeah.
need to go rev my car.
now.
Parking lot. And I remember thinking like, dude, something just happened.
Yeah.
Like something just, this movie just did something.
That spark just ignited.
And it did.
Yeah.
If you think 9/11 was the pivotal event of 2001, you're wrong.
And it's like all across the country.
Yeah.
Like shit ignited. Yeah. That was nuts.
That was a good time.
That wasn't good. That was quite a summer.
What about you, Mike?
I think I first started when I was like
12 or 4.
like 10 or
yeah, I was gonna-
something.
yeah. Knowing you.
My dad had either like a Volkswagen or like a Nash Metropolitan, like just something funky. And like me and my brother he would just like go to a parking lot. But I wasn't like that good at it. Like my brother caught it on better than I did.
But you were exposed.
Yeah, I mean, so like I knew like how to do it. I just wasn't
Yeah.
good at it. And then I think it was because my first couple cars were autos, and then I think it was that Taurus SHO, like green one. Remember that?
You owned it?
You had one?
I think my dad bought it for like
Oh.
$700 or something, and like it needed a clutch.
Huh. No.
So like he replaced the clutch, and I drove it to school for like a month or two.
Oh, really?
I don't even remember.
That was like the car that I like learned how to like drive.
Properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably like 17 or something.
Yeah, every car I've driven has always been a manual, besides the Jeep now. But
Yeah, the 4Runner is the first vehicle I've owned.
Yeah.
That was automatic.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
fine.
it's time.
Because the M5s still stick.
yeah.
But yeah, they've all been stick. It's such a funny skill because it takes like, you can teach someone stick if you're a good teacher.
Yeah.
And I've taught quite a few people because some people just like blow at teaching. Like you hear,
Right.
if you're like,
They just don't know how to.
someone,
They just don't know how to verbally
because
explain.
they don't really know.
Yeah.
They don't actually understand what's going on. And so like they're trying to teach someone. It's like, oh, dude, I like, do you think you could learn using your instructions? But like I've taught a few people because you can teach someone in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But to get it, you need to own
Just-
a car.
yeah, just drive
You
it every
really
day.
need to drive it every day.
Yeah.
And just be exposed to so many different situations.
Yeah.
And just all the different things. But yeah, it's a nice skill. Anytime it's cool that it's a nice skill, but it's also rare. And like most people are not into cars.
Yeah.
And so when you like find someone who
Well, back in the
drives a
day, like you
stick-
didn't even you didn't
cool.
you just learned to drive stick because you were poor. Like back in the day.
yeah, frugal McFrugalson.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just into it. Anything with a stick was like awesome.
Yeah.
It's like even a Civic.
Yeah. Or Mighty Max.
It's funny, like stick manual transmissions have always been manual transmissions. Like you can jump into
Yeah.
a 60s something, and if it's a stick, like driving something, depending on the car. But it's like you can pretty much figure
Like
it
the
out.
design hasn't changed.
The design hasn't changed, and like even the feel of it,
Right.
honestly,
Just like different engagement points, but it's just,
good. Yeah, it's like
Shifter might feel.
yeah, maybe it's kind of
there's-
weird shit, but it's like you figure it out.
Yeah.
You just jump into anything, which like it's kind of neat if like someone gets a car and it's stick and you want to drive it and
Right.
you can.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of cool. You just jump in. And so it's like even till today, they all pretty much feel the same. And automatics were kind of that way too. Like
Yeah.
automatics from like 1960 through 2000 2001
Yeah.
kind of felt the same. It's like they were all going to shift about the same, smooth and
Right.
whatever, but kind of boring. And,
yeah.
and so it was like stick or automatic. What do you want?
Right.
If it's a performance car, a stick is just better. Like it was what it was.
Yeah.
But in the last 2 decades, really, automatics have just become, there are so many different flavors of an automatic transmission
Right.
now. Like, but it's just crazy, the development.
But it's also funny, like how bad an automatic, like when you used to see like a 280ZX or something
Yeah.
with an automatic. Oh man.
They were that's what I mean. They just were bad
Yeah.
for anything performance related.
Yeah.
They just weren't, unless
Right.
it's like bracket racing or something.
Yeah.
It's just a stick was just
I mean, like
better.
Like imagining when some of those cars, like they're not even that great to start with.
Yeah.
And then you put like a 80s.
Pretty much
Automatic.
any car can be fun with a stick.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like you put that in anything, no matter how shitty. Like I remember one time me and my friend went like halvesies on a Ford F100. I don't remember what year it was, like 67 or 71 or something. And we bought it for like, I think we bought it for whatever the max withdrawal limit on an ATM is times 2.
$400.
Yeah, so it was like $800. We like both owned it. But it was a stick, and it was just like so fun. It was such a fun vehicle because it was stick. And if it was an automatic, it would have been like, it's an old truck.
Right.
Yeah.
It just transforms it. But like stick has just always been stick, and auto has just always been like kind of lame.
Yeah.
But now it's like first they had the single clutch automated autos,
Right.
the early 2000s stuff, which is kind of clunky and
Yeah.
weird. Even though some cars still have that, they've kind of perfected
Talking
it.
about like what, like a F360 or 430 or like
Sure.
that, like
Yeah. There are still some cars with the single clutch automated. And it's like, it's a clunkier experience, but it's kind of cool because of it.
Right.
Because it's like violent, kind of. But then like dual clutches. And now whatever ZF has done,
Yeah.
this 8-speed, like they just, once they made an auto that didn't suck, it's like, oh, wait a minute.
yeah. For me, I remember like the first auto that I was like really impressed by was the ISF
Yeah.
when I first drove that thing. It's like, man, this is sweet.
Yeah. And that's a torque converted.
Right. That's
Yeah,
yeah. That's
it's not even dual
it,
clutch, right?
Yeah. But as soon as they got kind of good,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, wait, now
Now it's an option.
it doesn't really, like now it's not as clear cut.
Yeah.
Because this is a pretty fun experience in its own right.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like new autos. That was the biggest thing I noticed because I think the new Jeep Grand Cherokee, the V6, I think that's a ZF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed.
Still the 8-speed. Yeah.
And the new 4Runner I rented was just a 5-speed whatever,
Right.
recycled from like 06.
Yeah.
And it's just like that ZF is so fast. It's fun.
Right.
It's almost
Yeah.
fun to drive
Right.
again because it's so fast.
Yeah,
And the
especially-
4Runner is just like, dude, what is this
Especially,
thing?
in like Scat Packs and SRTs, automatics, like with the electronic drive modes. Like, you put the car into track mode and that thing just shifts like hard. Like it shifts way rougher,
And
but
it, like,
it makes you
sounds
feel
cool
Yeah,
and
it makes you
stuff.
feel like you're going
Yeah.
faster. Even
Yeah.
I don't know how much.
The VW DSG is the same.
Yeah,
Same.
Yeah.
The dual clutch and I mean, there are some legitimate flavors of automatic transmission that are like thoroughly enjoyable
Yeah.
and exciting now. And like that's a big change.
And it's weird, like having gone to the track like a couple times in the last year or so. Like, I almost think I like automatic for the track.
Oh
better.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if
Track
it's a good automatic.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it's just
I mean, I guess a stick is fun.
the amount of skill. It's not even like less skill. It's just you can just concentrate so
Yeah,
much
on-
more
on your line or your braking or whatever, yeah.
and not like shifting. Which is like, oh well, if you were better at shifting, it's like yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but just for like heading out to cruise around, I'd way rather have a stick.
yeah,
But, like,
maybe if I'm just like cruising around like screwing around,
Right.
punching it,
Yeah, yeah.
sure. Because it's still like at the end of the day, stick still looks way cooler,
Right, yeah.
like, to drive. It's just a like cooler feeling
Yeah.
experience, and it's much more intimate and all that. But it's like it's not a shock that there are less manuals,
Right.
Because like there's a limit to how good you can make a manual, which few companies hit.
Right.
Honestly, like it's rare that they're like super good.
in a way, it's actually funny that a few cars still even have like
yeah,
like the base Civic is still a man. Like you have to pay more
yeah.
for an automatic.
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. But
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, the big change. I was talking to someone maybe 2 weeks ago who used to work at Delphi, and he worked there through the 90s, and so into the early 2000s. I think I might be misquoting this, but he'll never watch this, so whatever I can say, whatever I want.
say his first and last name.
Yeah, he was the CEO. He was an interesting guy, but he was talking about basically the same thing where the biggest change in automatics, first of all, but what we were talking about was steering, is software. Because like everyone uses that same 8-speed, not everyone, but like it's ubiquitous for the most part. A lot of people use that ZF 8-speed in a lot of different cars, from the like Alfa Romeo
Right.
Giulia
Yeah,
to the like BMW
Right.
whatever 335.
Yeah.
It's just like it's all over the place. To the Jeep Grand Cherokee, it's used a lot and it's good.
Right.
But the thing that makes it different is your ability to program it. It's like it's all in the software.
you think that's all done by the manufacturer?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
They
That's
don't-
all,
they
that's
don't,
all
like,
proprietary,
spec
I
it.
think.
Yes, it's all up to them, and so it's like it's really a software game. And so he was telling me, because I didn't really know this, he was like steering feel really is like it was really a black art. where it's like they weren't even really sure. It was like hose lengths and like weird stuff that made steering feel really good on old hydraulic setups. And it was like, you just sort of like
lucked
with
into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like just kind of changed some stuff. But you're saying electric power steering, like as soon as electric power steering came out, people were like, I hate this. It's numb. It's terrible. But these very recently, they're like, yeah, it's pretty good now.
Right.
You know, it's not as good as whatever, but it's like, this is pretty good. And the only thing that has changed is they've gotten better at software. It's a software change that has improved that stuff. And the same with engine tuning. It's like cars are so much software now. The three biggest input, you know, the shifting, the power delivery, and the steering feel.
Well, that's probably also why you can like
dominated by
get
software.
a tune and just like unlock a bunch of shit.
And why you can just have like drive modes
Right.
that drastically change the experience is because it is a software thing now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of making me think like that probably has something to do with why all cars are kind of starting to drive similar. Some of them stand way out
Yeah.
just because they're absurd. Like a GT350 is just like, what a unique motor
Right.
and like very different experience. But for the most part, it's kind of like the new Supra. It's like, it's not even out, but we can kind of guess what it's going to drive like. Because it's like, yeah, it's a twin turbo straight six
With a
an
ZF8
auto
speed.
with a ZF8 speed. Great. Like I can kind of tell you what it's going to drive like because it's going to be based on.
It's gonna rev to like 6,800 or
It's
something.
going to be based on whatever the state of the art of software tuning is.
Yeah.
Which my guess is, especially these days, it's not like the Germans are really good at programming steer. Oh, but the American, it's like everyone's trading.
Right.
That industry is probably so incestuous. It's just like, like I stole an engineer here and you have
Right.
one there. It's like everyone has everyone else's secrets. And so it's like, yeah, all the cars kind of drive the same. Like they're sort of becoming this like singularity thing. Where it's like they all
we sort of talked about like how like the GTI, like almost all cars are GTIs, like in just with varying levels of like height and power.
different forms of GTI.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they're not made by VW, just like whatever, a Cayenne or a Macan or whatever. It's like, oh, this is a GTI with like a lot more power.
Well, that one like literally isn't it?
Yeah.
That's true.
Platform.
That's true. Yeah. But even like John's Jeep in a way.
Yeah, it's just like
bigger-
GTI,
yeah,
but
it's a
like
bigger
big,
GTI.
big
Right.
payload.
Very
and,
big.
like, yeah, they kind of feel the
It's a
same.
GTI for very big boys.
Big bar. Yeah, I think that's why like there's so much. That's part of why there's so much nostalgia already for
cars that aren't really
late
even that
'90s,
old
early
yet.
2000s. Yeah, because it's like that was the transition.
Right.
After that, you're getting into software, and before that, it was still like
Pretty mechanical.
yeah, like parts of the chassis were done in CAD
Yeah.
and designed on a computer, but for the most part, it was like just
Going
kind
at
of
it.
old school guesswork.
Right.
And there's probably a lot of it's that guesswork. It's really the mistakes that make a car good. You know, it's like, and now they're so.
It's either the mistakes or just like the limits of technology.
Yeah, but it's just like it's just the lack of
Understanding.
fine-tuned engineering. Because now it's like I'm pretty sure now a car is designed, tested, simulated,
all on a computer.
extremely variations of it before anything is made on a
Right.
computer.
Right.
The suspension is modeled.
Yeah.
The powertrain is
pushed to its
modeled.
limits.
The power delivery, all that shit is modeled
Right.
and tested on a computer before it's even designed. And so it's like, yeah, it's going to feel. There's no room for it to
Right.
feel like anything other than
way
what you
different.
wanted it to feel like. Whereas before it was like, I don't know, here's 3 different like A-arms.
Let's give it a shot.
Let's see which one and like see if it breaks or whatever. It's like I think they used to be, I mean, still sophisticated for the time, I'm sure.
Right.
And they used computers where they could. But like a lot of that stuff, I remember it was like the 300ZX twin turbo. It's like the chassis was designed with a computer, like with a supercomputer.
Wow.
They even used like a Cray supercomputer. And it's like, it's a big deal, but it means like, you know, they didn't do most of it on a computer.
Yeah.
They
did what they could.
They did some, whatever they could afford. But it's like they're very there will never be another time like that because you just never wouldn't do it on a computer now.
Right.
And so it's like, it's the last of like, yeah, kind of computer designed, but still kind of old school feeling.
Right.
And it's like people recognizing that. And the cars are cool because of it. Because it's as new as they can get. This is as nice as that analog feel is going to get. So there's only so many cars. Because now, I mean, speaking of software dictating the way a car drives, like kind of at the advent of cars just driving themselves.
Yeah.
Really.
But as long as that autonomous driver can have good steering feel.
I know. I mean, all that stuff is
I like
so
this. This feels
weird.
very analog. Where would you like to go?
That stuff is so, it's like the engine, transmission, and steering feel. It's like software to the point where it's like, boy, we don't even need a driver.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. That's such a,
I know you are not driving, but let me tell you how fun this is.
The throttle response is very peppy.
I think that's kind of where Chad came
Yeah,
from.
I think that was.
Yeah, it's like part of it. But it's just like, I don't know. It's going to be a weird time, and like some people try to talk about what it's going to be like.
I don't think anyone knows.
No one knows.
How could you know?
Yeah.
Because like, there's going to be quite a few people who do not want to get rid of cars they drive
Yeah.
for a long time. They say like 5 to 10 years, like. Car, you won't even be able to recognize the road. It's like no way,
Yeah.
no way.
It's like how
cars
they've
being
been,
sold
how they've been
now.
promising flying cars since like the 40s.
Yeah,
or
when people
something.
talk about autonomous cars, they just sound so much like someone in like 1910.
Yeah.
Like in the future, like
Yeah.
New York City, and it's like
Skyscrapers will
okay,
be 300
dude.
stories high.
Yeah, it's like
Get on the Skyway.
It'll be this utopia. It's like it's not going to be that. Not as soon as you're thinking. Like 5 to 10 years, a car sold now will be on the road for 20 years.
Right.
Like they're not just going to crush 5-year-old gas-powered cars.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a slow transition, but it is kind of it's interesting to think about because where we got on this was Ford making
Right.
such a bold transition toward mobility. We're a mobility company, and there's like, okay.
I thought you're Ford.
What
Yeah.
does that mean? Like, you don't know what that means.
By mobility, they mean like an F-350 King Ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what they come up with. I have a feeling they don't really have a vision for it. Because when I think of like, who's leading the charge for autonomous whatever.
Or if they have a vision, it's like a bunch of engineers that are locked in a room and they don't really know what reality
Yeah. I mean,
is going to look like.
I was talking to my friend who works for Ford in some Palo Alto studio
Right.
that Ford bought, some like whatever trendy startup. And he was basically just like, well, Ford's transitioning into a mobility. Like he's just kind of like regurgitating talking
The
points
company
at me.
line.
And he's not a car guy. It's just like, dude,
Thanks, Ford.
yeah, like I don't know if I don't know if they know what they're doing,
But the thing,
but they know they want a piece of the action.
yeah, like kind of like.
you know?
But as I was saying earlier, like it feels like I don't really know where the demand for this. Usually, like the market shifts. It's like
they determine
right.
what
It's
they
like people want SUVs or people want
Yeah.
trucks or people want cars that get better mileage. So we'll pivot that way. But this whole autonomous thing,
Yeah,
it seems like it's all created from like something different.
I know. I always hear about like imagine sleeping on your commute or whatever. It's like it's
Yeah.
always like imagine someone else doing a thing
Right.
and never like God. I would love to just
Yeah,
have this thing. Like no one really wants it. Are people demanding?
I don't think so.
Well, even like the stuff they have now, like the lane, the lane
Yeah,
that keeps you in your lane and the radar, lane departure and the
Half the
adaptive
people, like,
cruise
don't even
control,
like that
and then
stuff.
whatever the software Tesla has that actually like uses like crazy technology to, on the freeway to keep you just driving. Like people think it's cool, but no one like 100% trusts it.
they certainly don't trust it. I'm guessing a lot of people who own Teslas do use that and just don't talk about it.
Right.
It's just like part of their thing.
right.
But yeah, it is kind of weird how it's like, here's this thing that's happening. So Ford's a great example because I guarantee no one was like demanding that
Yeah.
Ford do that. They
Yeah.
don't care. But it's like, here's this thing that's happening, and so we better be a part of it.
And then like Honda's like, we don't give a fuck about it.
yeah, Honda's kind of weird in that way. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens because you're right. It's like the demand's not really there. The thing that keeps pushing it, I think, is this vision of autonomous cars married with Uber and every company wants to
where
be
you
that.
don't own a car.
Yeah.
Where it's just like,
Be that
man,
fleet
if we
car.
could just turn
Yeah.
into this like taxi service.
It's like a
and
loop of cars.
I'm guessing that's what Ford's like kind of moving toward. Is like mobility and like let's reimagine. It's like, yeah, but
I can't really see that being the future. I don't think you can just pivot from where we are now to that. Maybe over like 50 years or something.
yeah,
maybe.
but it's like it feels like someone had that vision, and it does make sense, and I'm sure there is room for it.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of people are kind of moving in that direction
Yeah.
as if that's the direction to
Right.
go. And it's like, who's asking for that? How often are people Ubering?
and I assume they think they can make money. I mean, like,
You could.
but I mean, they have to assume that they're going to make more money from their whatever than selling cars.
I think my guess is that the assumption is like, who knows how long car sales are going to sustain us? Like that's
Yeah.
going to drop off when this
Yeah.
new thing.
Well, it's
just
crazy because
peaks.
like even in like India and like probably China too, like they're two of the biggest growing markets for cars because people are finally getting like their economies are
There's
growing.
like a
and-
middle
and-
class
yeah, and people like are
emerging.
finally transitioning from like scooters and stuff to automobiles.
yeah,
Like, but the laws of the road in those two countries are so crazy
Yeah.
that
well,
like
China's not. I mean, depending on where you are, India's a fucking
yeah,
mess.
yeah. So like autonomous cars in India is just like
Yeah.
what?
Autonomous cars in India. I remember talking to my Indian friend, who is a software engineer now at Apple. I'm pretty sure working on the car, but they're so fucking secretive.
Yeah.
You try to ask him anything about that shit, he won't talk about it. And I have tried. But
See if
he
you can
was
get him on the
just-
pod.
Yeah, bring him on. Add weight. My boy, what's up? But he was just like, yeah, autonomous cars, like, try that in India.
Yeah,
And there's like a camel cuts you off or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a dude on a bike is just coming straight at you. It's like there's just like no law in some parts. But EVs certainly.
right.
EVs can technically be cheaper and simpler. Like China EVs are exploding.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a super hot market for EVs. And they're pushing it really hard. And they should be. It makes sense.
Yeah, just
The Chinese car company Elon.
speaking of
Oh yeah, we had a super good idea for a Chinese car company name. It's Elon.
Elon Motors,
Elon, an electric Chinese car startup.
So
Man, I can't wait.
the X model.
Yeah, the Series 3. Just like fuck. Yeah. So I don't know. This is gonna be interesting to watch. I'm certainly like open to it. It's not like they'll never. I mean, I
Yeah.
will always. I can't see ever like not wanting one or two cool gasoline powered cars.
Yeah.
I don't really give a shit what my daily driver
Right.
is. Like it's not like no, I just pry my gas powered Civic out of my cold dead hands. Like no, I don't care.
Take it.
Like EVs, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Take
And
my
honestly, like autonomous cars, a lot of times it's like once a day
Right.
when someone does some stupid thing. It's like, God, I can't wait until most people aren't driving.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I can't
Especially
wait.
if you lived in like LA or just like if that was all automated and like actually ran
Totally.
smoothly.
It just
Only good.
seems like the biggest problem I see is like it seems like that needs to be like an all or nothing.
Right.
Like
and how do you
if
force
you want to have
something like that?
autonomous vehicles, you need to have like every car autonomous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the software will be
I don't
advanced
know.
enough.
But people are fucking unpredictable and sketchy as
yeah,
fuck.
yeah, they can be.
I don't know.
But I think that's doable.
Especially when Highway 99 closes in both directions and people start just driving through fields.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But there's always going to be a mix. There's
Yeah.
always going to be people who are like, no, I at least
Yeah, that's
I need
why-
to have the option.
That's why it seems like it would be hard to fully
Yeah.
to make it the utopia that they talk about.
Yeah.
When there's always going to be these like highly unpredictable things mixed in.
Let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Specifically you, Carl. I know you have an opinion. Don't hold back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Anyways, what are we at? Is that good?
Like 40.
All right.
Yeah.
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 There's your episode.
Yeah,
There's your
there you go.
autonomous
There you
car
go, folks.
episode.
Take it.
Yeah.
Hope you're happy.
You want to talk about relevant car bros? This is also being filmed on an iPhone XS Max. You want to talk
Yeah.
about
Wow.
Cutting edge. Yeah.
cutting edge hot
Yeah.
shit?
Episode whatever failed. I can't remember. 9.
Oh yeah.
cut
Except
out.
for that
Sorry
bug.
for that one. Yeah.
Sorry about
yeah,
that.
it's a little software glitch. Apple, I'm sure, will get on it.
We've talked to Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got an email.
FaceTimed with Tim.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to us
Yep.
ramble.
See you next time.
Yeah. See you next time.
See you.